Welcome to KGW News at 5 o'clock. We have new information about the deadly shooting in downtown Portland following a pro-Trump rally on Saturday. Just hours ago, police confirmed the identity of the victim. Police are also talking to witnesses and looking at video of what happened. Tim Gordon reports on the investigation. We do want to warn you, his report does contain video of the shooting.
Monday afternoon, the medical examiner confirmed 39-year-old Aaron Danielson of Portland was the man shot and killed Saturday night. Everyone called him Jay. These pictures from a GoFundMe for his family. Joey Gibson, leader of Patriot Prayer, called Jay a good friend and supporter of the far-right group.
Jay's one of the nicest guys that you'll ever meet. Anyone that knows him, it doesn't matter if you're far left or whatever, you're conservative, no one would ever want to hurt this guy. He's one of the nicest guys I've seriously ever met in my entire life.
Gibson's group and other Trump supporters converged a caravan on Portland Saturday and took on people there to oppose them. It got ugly, with paintballs, bear spray, and fistfights in the streets. Then it got uglier.
Democracy field trip. Not a good night.
Live streamer Justin Dunlap experienced the shooting firsthand. His camera was live as things at Southwest 3rd and Alder turned deadly. He heard some yelling and saw Danielson shoot bear mace before he was shot.
Instantly, like a half second later, the gunshots rang out. Just two quick reports, and the victim turned, took 4 steps, and fell. And the other two went the opposite direction on the street.
A horrible scene on the street as Portland police and medics moved in and moved others out, while Danielson lay dead. Dunlap gave his video to police as evidence. He's watched it over and over. It brings all kinds of emotions, including relief he wasn't closer when it happened.
If I see a fight going on, I'm gonna be like, hey, there's a fight, let's go look at that. And then I would have been way closer, could have been in the gunfire. That easily could have turned on me, and that would have been horrible on all the levels.
Dunlap wants justice for the victim, but also blames right-wing tactics for stoking aggressions. President Trump said his supporters and paintballs are not to blame.
Well, I understand they had large numbers of people that were supporters, but that was a peaceful protest. And paint is a defensive mechanism. Paint is not bullets.
And Trump supporter Joey Gibson agrees.
Jay was in his own town walking around, and he got attacked. So I don't know what else we could have done differently.
So far, police have not identified a suspect or suspects, and they're asking people for patience as they investigate, and also reminding everyone that everything they see online is not necessarily true. Tim Gordon, KGW News.
The killing increased the political pressure on Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler from both the right and the left, and prompted Governor Kate Brown to order the state police into the city to help stop the violence. KGW's Pat Doris talked with the governor just 2 hours ago. Pat?
Well, Laurel, the governor helped negotiate that handoff from federal agents to state police with the federal courthouse downtown, and now that's no longer a target. So she's hoping that by bringing in more state police to the streets of Portland, it'll help calm down the violence. Sunday night, another crowd gathered outside a Portland police building, this time in southeast Portland. Before it was done, some in the crowd turned violent toward officers, throwing rocks and eggs and other items, according to police. Police arrested 29 people. 2 had guns. 1 was carrying legally, the other was not, according to officers. This is one reason Governor Kate Brown is sending state police to help Portland officers. And then there's the weekly violent clashes between the supporters of President Trump and counter-protesters on the weekends. Police are often outnumbered, and while they do make arrests, lots of violence goes unchecked. The governor said she hopes Clackamas and Washington counties will send deputies to help put down the violence in the city.
I am hopeful this plan will work. If it doesn't work, we will try something else.
I asked why not send in the National Guard, at least during the weekends when the big numbers from both sides show up.
It does seem that if you could bring 2,000 men and women into Portland to protect the public buildings, that would tip the scales, wouldn't it?
I think that's a really good question, and I think people are asking that. But if these folks are not trained in crowd control and not trained in law enforcement, then you're not putting the right seats in the right location. you're not putting the right personnel to do the right job. And that's what we need now.
Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler is getting criticized by both sides now. President Trump ridiculed him on Twitter, calling him wacky, radical, left-do-nothing mayor. On the other side, 6 Portland-based groups ranging from the Democratic Socialists of America to Portland's Resistance have called for the mayor to resign. They argue the violence over the weekend was a result of a lack of leadership from Ted Wheeler.
Local elected officials are making the best decisions that they can with the information that they have at the time. Obviously, I would put Mayor Wheeler in that category as well.
But Governor Brown. 30 minutes ago, the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office said they will not be sending their deputies in to help in Portland. And the sheriff there, Craig Roberts, really ripped into the way that things are being done here in Multnomah County. He said if you want to really stop these protests and the violence, you need to, number one, have the district attorney charge and follow through and prosecute the people that are committing the crimes. And number two, you have to have the judges stop releasing people with no bail, because his argument is that people are being arrested, released, arrested again, and it just goes on and on and on. After he released his statement, the 2 largest police organizations in Oregon issued similar statements critical of the way that criminal justice is being done here in Multnomah County. Back to you.
Pat Doris live for us. Thank you, Pat.
I'm a native Portlander. Multi-generations have been here, but I never thought I would experience anything like this.
Portland police say the protests have made them slow to respond to other crimes. A family in Northeast Portland says their home was hit by at least 20 bullets early Sunday morning, and it took 2 calls and nearly a full day for police to show up. Leslie and Herman Barnes say their neighbors heard gunshots in their neighborhood about 2 a.m. Sunday. The family wasn't home at the time, but neighbors called police and nobody showed up. The Barnes called again around 11 a.m. Sunday and were told police were too busy the night before. Eventually, officers came by around 7 p.m. Sunday, about 17 hours after the first call.
They said when we called that they were busy, but I don't know what kind of busy. But you mean to tell me you can't send an officer by to take a report, take some photographs, collect some evidence? How hard is that?
The Barnes have no idea why their house was shot up. They feel they might have been targeted because they're the only black homeowners on their street. The Portland Police Bureau has not responded to our questions about the investigation. We have an update on the White River fire southeast of Mount Hood. It has now burned more than 20 square miles. That's more than 15,000 acres. It is only 10% contained. But firefighters say so far no homes have been damaged. There are still some evacuation orders in place, however, and the Red Cross is helping people sheltering at Shiloh Inn in the Dalles. Volunteers are even delivering meals outside room doors to avoid in-person contact. Because of the pandemic, the Red Cross is asking people to donate cash instead of supplies. Now to the latest on the coronavirus. Today, the Oregon Health Authority reported 162 new cases. That is the lowest number of new cases since July 6th, when 168 cases were reported. You can see from this graph the number of daily new cases in Oregon is starting to decline. But officials stress infections can quickly grow out of control again, and we can't get complacent. Washington's curve is looking similar to Oregon's, with daily new cases leveling off. The state is still reporting several hundred new cases per day, though. To track the virus, Oregon researchers are testing wastewater. They're testing wastewater, human waste, to try to stop outbreaks before they start. And they're looking closely at college campuses. Keely Chalmers is live to explain. Keely?
Yeah, Laurel, starting tomorrow, the college will start collecting samples from the sewage system underneath the campus that connects to all the dorms. And that's because with every flush of the feces of an infected person, an inactive form of the virus flows through the pipes. The college will be pulling the samples and sending them to Washington County Clean Water Services for the testing, with results coming back in about 3 days. And that is a big deal. Last week, the University of Arizona claimed similar testing there stopped an outbreak before it even started. Researchers in Oregon hope for the same results. Oregon State University was just awarded a $1.2 million grant by the Oregon Health Authority to conduct similar sewer surveillance in 43 cities across the state. The school will be sampling the wastewater at its Corvallis Bend and Newport campuses as well. Now, if the virus is detected, let's say, in a college dorm, students there could then be tested, including those who are asymptomatic.
To date, about 75 to 80% of the infected individuals we have been finding are asymptomatic. And so they're not captured by traditional COVID testing.
As soon as somebody has the infection, we can pick it up in the wastewater. We don't have to wait for them to become ill and go to a doctor and get tested.
Yeah, and that way the infected individuals could be identified and isolated for treatment, stopping the spread early on. Lewis and Clark College has even set aside an entire dorm for students who test positive for COVID to quarantine. Just another step in trying to keep students as safe as possible as they head back to school now.